Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to part 2 of my crochet wall hanging series. In part 1 we covered how to attach the wall hanging to the tree branch and how to hang the wall hanging to the wall. And in this video we are going to go over how to fringe and steamer wall hangings to make it nice and pretty. So if that is interesting to you or you think it'll be helpful, then please keep watching. Okay, so to get started, we are going to prep our fringe. For me personally, I like to give myself a little bit of wiggle room, so I will trim my fringe to about 12-ish inches because it'll be measured when we fold it in half to the wall hanging. So I like to give myself a little bit of wiggle room for when I go to trim after we steam. So you want to cut as many strands as you think you'll need. I usually cut less just to try to save yarn and not waste it. So again, just cut as much as you think you'll need to about 12 inches. And you'll also need a crochet hook and again, just snippers to trim and prep your fringe. Alright, so to get started, we are going to start at the bottom left corner of the wall hanging, and all you're going to do is you're going to take your crochet hook and you're going to push it through the far left foundation chain. For me, I always start my foundation chains in the back hump because I feel like it's a little bit easier to find when I go to fringe everything's, because if I just do like a normal foundation chain, it's kind of loopy and it's hard to find and it gets a little bit loose. So another tip, if that is something that you think will be helpful to you. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab 3 pieces of yarn that we've cut, fold it in half like so, and just loop it around our finger like this, and then we're going to loop that center of the folded pieces onto the crochet hook and just pull it through about 2-ish inches or 1.5 inches, and then we're going to reach up into the loop, pull those strands down, and pull to tighten. Right, super easy, not too difficult. Really the most time consuming part is trimming the fringe, so I highly suggest putting on a YouTube video or a podcast or a movie on Netflix to kind of pass the time when you're trimming the fringe, because it can take a little bit of time. I mean, honestly, you know, attaching the fringe can be, you know, a little time consuming, but this is definitely the perfect opportunity to listen to your favorite podcast or listen to a YouTube video as you go along and do it, because it's kind of, I don't want to say mindless, but you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. So there's a little bit of wiggle room if you need to do any corrections, because you can always untighten the fringe and pull it out if it's too bulky or if it's not in the right place. So it is, you know, very forgiving. But what I'm going to do is I stuck my crochet hook in the, not the next stitch, but the next stitch after. I don't even know how to explain it. I put fringe in every other foundation chain just to make sure they're not too clustered together, because they can look a little bulky if you put them too close together, and it's a little tight trying to get your crochet hook through right against it. Because I use 3 strands, and you can even use 4 if you're using a thinner weight yarn, it can get a little tight and snug if you try to put it in every single foundation chain. Now if you're using, you know, a really thin yarn like a weight 3 or even a fingering yarn for that matter, you can always get away with putting it in every single foundation chain if that gives it a nice full appearance. So again, I'm just going to keep going, grabbing 3 pieces of yarn, kind of leveling them out, looping it through, sticking my crochet hook in this stitch, not next to the previous fringe, but this stitch right after every other foundation chain, and pull to tighten. Alright, and another thing to note, your fringe does not have to be perfect. You do not have to cut these all to the perfect length, because we're going to trim it. We're going to steam the entire piece so it lays nice and flat and it has a nice fluidity to it, and then once it's steamed, I usually leave it overnight, and then I'll trim the fringe the next day and take some pretty pictures for Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to attach my fringe, and I will see you when I'm done. Okay, so I'm just coming up on the last few foundation chains that need fringe. And because of the stitch count, it's actually not going to reach the end. But usually it looks fine. I haven't seen any problems with it looking a little wonky or lopsided, but if it does, you can always add 4 strands instead of 3, or add 2 strands in the last 2 stitches if it looks, you know, a little uneven. Especially when it's up on the wall, you'll get a better vantage point seeing it dead on instead of it below you. So you can always make that judgment after you've hung it up on the wall and got a good visual of it. So this is going to be my last fringe, and you can also tighten it a little looser just to give it like a pretty even. See, they look pretty even though this one is not at the very end and this one is. And steaming does help a lot, you know, because you're able to stretch and move things around and straighten and flatten the fringe after steaming. Steaming literally is my secret weapon. It makes such a huge difference when it comes to the, you know, the finished product of every single one of my wall hangings. It is truly life-changing. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and set up my steamer, and I'm going to show you how I steam my wall hangings, and I'll be right back. Okay, so before I show you how I steam, I do want to point out that I have pinned the wall hanging to the wall just to keep it nice and flat and in the shape that I would like it to be after it's steamed. It also helps with the flipping out of the bottom right hand corner. Especially, you definitely want to pay more attention to this bottom corner here where it tends to flip out a little bit, and also the fringe, which you can't see, I'm so sorry. Just to make sure, all you have to do is to go over it with the steamer just a couple of times just to make sure it's nice and flat. But yeah, you just want to give it a good steam, get it nice and saturated, so when it sets tomorrow, because I usually leave it overnight, it'll be nice and flat and flowy when you're ready to trim the fringe. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my steamer. Ooh. This steamer is actually brand new. I don't know if you can hear it. It is so loud. My other one crapped out on me that I had for about a year. So this one I purchased on Amazon. I've already used it once or twice. It is fantastic. I love it. So I will go ahead and link this down in the description box for you. Like I said, I got it on Amazon. It's super cheap. Had great reviews, which is awesome. So yeah, I'll go ahead and link that down there for you. But as far as steaming techniques, I really don't have a specific technique. I just try to get it as close as I can to the piece and just steam it really good. You don't have to worry about any singeing when it comes to steaming your piece, or at least I haven't. I think it depends on what kind of yarn you use. I used acrylic for all of my wall hangings for this specific reason, because it does do well with steaming. I haven't had any problems with it. It doesn't pill or anything. And it just gives it a really nice texture and flowy feel. So it feels like a real wall hanging instead of it being stiff, because we did use, I did use a single crochet stitch throughout this entire wall hanging. So because it is the more tighter stitches, it can be stiff. So again, this is a great option for finishing your piece. This is totally optional, by the way. You do not have to do this, but one of the main questions that I get in my DMs when it comes to my wall hangings is how I get my fringe so straight. Do I trim my fringe? Do I steam my wall hangings? You know, how do I get it to look, you know, so put together and neat? And this is literally it. This is my secret weapon. It's just a hand steamer. I definitely have to figure out a better way of steaming this. I actually, when I first started doing wall hangings, I think it was about 1.5 years, almost 2 years ago, I have a cork board up in my room that I hang like all of my drafts for future wall hanging patterns, and I have a pillowcase up against it that's still there that I used to hang my wall hangings on and steam. But over the course of time, my wall hangings got like progressively bigger, so they wouldn't fit on the corkboard anymore. So I had to resort to pinning all of my wall hangings to the wall. So if you have a better alternative, please let me know. I'm thinking about getting well, I can't really do that because the problem is with hand steamers, you have to steam with it upright. You can't, like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I probably sound really dumb. But you have to hold it upright with hand steamers. I'm sure if you want to, like, spend the money and get one of those fancy schmancy ones on the rollers where it's actually like a hose that comes out, you could probably do it, you know, horizontally or facing down. But with these hand steamers, you do have to keep it vertical, which definitely can be a problem when it comes to your walls. So again, if you have any tips on how I can attach this to the wall without completely ruining them, please let me know because we are moving soon. So right now, I know you can't see it, but I'm just steaming and flattening out my fringe, just to make them nice and flat. It also helps a lot when it comes to trimming the fringe after the wall hanging has set. So again, I'm just going to do just a couple of passes, get as close as you can to the piece, get it nice and saturated. And again, you can, at this point, it's pretty moldable, so you can even like flatten it in some areas where you have issues, or you can like position it and reshape it. So if you want to take out a pin and reshape it and put it back in, this is the great time to do that now that it's nice and, you know, saturated. Yeah, it looks, I'm just about finished. Yeah. Sure. And then again, make sure you're getting this bottom right hand corner nice and saturated, because it's the corner that tends to flip up a lot. Sometimes even after steaming, it'll still flip up. So I'll take like some tack glue, like they're little glue dots that are removable, and I'll stick it on the bottom right hand corner and push it down just to keep it from popping out. You know, and depending on how big the wall hanging is, if it's like a bigger one, I'll usually use the whole steamer because it has like a fill line. So I'll use up the whole thing just to make sure I'll get it nice and saturated. But this is a fairly small one because this is the mini version of the Mountainside wall hanging that I have. So it's not that large. Okay, and I think we're just about done. I'm going to go over the fringe one more time. Okay. Alright, and that is just about it. And again, I'm going to leave this overnight just how it is. Let it set up and stiffen, not stiffen, but let the fibers of the yarn kind of set in place, and then I'll come back tomorrow and trim the fringe. I won't be showing that. It's pretty self-explanatory. I myself have a hard time trimming the fringe into straight lines, so I usually take a roller and kind of mark it where I want it to be, and then I'll just take a large pair of scissors and then cut straight across because I tend to kind of go a little zigzaggy. I don't know what my problem is. I cannot cut in straight lines. I don't think I ever could. So that's a little embarrassing. But yeah, that is it. So again, just leave it overnight, come back tomorrow, trim the fringe to your desired length, and then take pretty pictures for Instagram. All right. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. If it was helpful for you, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I will leave all of my social media channels down in the description box below. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send me a DM or leave a comment down below. And you can also catch up on what new patterns I have coming out next. Speaking of patterns, this one actually isn't out just yet. Actually, it might be out when this video goes up. This is my sunset mini Mountainside wall hanging. I do have the original already up in my Etsy shop and also on my blog, so I will leave the link to those down in the description box. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment, send me a DM, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified when I upload my next video. Alright, thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!